Hey guys, Darren Carr here, coach of Wise Ocean Pods, and welcome back to another episode of our round review series. On today's episode, we will be reviewing round 5, a very interesting round to say the least. So let's get into it. So my team this week scored a 1941, so I feel like that's pretty mediocre in the terms of things. Round rank was just under 5,000, so really shows it was about par. Really just I can't seem to hit a top round rank this year, unfortunately. It just seems like every round I'm just getting a mediocre rank. Just all the players can't put it together at the same time, unfortunately. But rank is still climbing, just under 3k now, so jumped up another 1,000 spots, which is nice to see. So still heading in the right direction. So all things good at the moment. But to get into my plus threes and negative threes, I'll have to probably give my plus three to Rowan Marshall. Obviously, debuted for my team. Really happy with his performance. Scored the 138. And just really was solid in that game. Was a little bit concerned in the first half, where I think he was sort of not tracking pretty well. But yeah, got up there in the second half, so really happy with that. And yeah, is now gaining some cash and unreachable for most people. So I think that's a good trade in for me, and hopefully he goes even bigger for the next couple of weeks. And it's going to provide a good captain option. But could have also gone to Harry Sheezel. Obviously, that's a massive score from him. His ceiling for his career, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's something that we see quite often throughout his career. So he is just mega at the moment, and is one of the best starting picks I think you could possibly have. Honestly, he has been enormous. A few others, obviously, captain in Max Gorn was awesome. 149 as a VC is just exactly what you want. You're looking for that ceiling, and you take that every day of the week. So luckily I did, because that probably follows into what I was gonna do for my captains, was VC in Gorn, and then I was going into Pontempelli. So really, if Gorn didn't go well, that could have been a season killer, I reckon. Coming back from a nearly a sub 100 captain, that's shocking. That's really season killing. You're talking, that's 250 points just sitting right there. That is horrible, and lucky for me, that's just what happened. But going back to my negative threes, it has to go to Bontempelli. That is just not something you want to see from your M1 at the start of the year. I pay top dollar for him. Something I don't usually do when it comes to pre-seasons, but I thought, looking at his run and looking at what he can do, I thought he would, continue his scoring wise. But the start of the season, he has just been so sub-poor, and I don't really know what to do with him. I'm obviously going to hold. I'll back him in, as I've done all season, to continue to be better, and his run is good to come. But yeah, it is very disappointing, and is very cheap now for other people to jump on at this stage. So very disappointing in him. A few others, obviously McKercher, can't blame the kid. Got injured in the first couple of minutes of the game with a rib injury, so not quite sure whether he will return. But because we don't have the injury report just yet, I'm recording this on Monday night, so yeah, we'll have to see what the status is with him. But I think with a break even of 78 now, he's not returning from my side, that's for sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's the one who's most traded out this week. So he just needs to go, unfortunately. Definitely lost 25k at the same time, which is just unfortunate for all owners. Riley Sanders is very similar, where he got subbed out in that game by Bevo, half time or close to that. And yeah, he looked pretty good in that first half, and it is just amazing what Bevo can do. So looked really devastated when he got subbed out. So do I think he's a trade though? I don't think so. His break even's still low enough that he can hit that. He has shown a high ceiling that he can go 80 plus. So if he goes an 80 plus again, then he kickstarts his cash generation and continues on there. Has a good matchup this week, so I'm backing him in just with a few other priorities in my team. And probably you can probably split it between Massimo and Fife. Both are quite subpar of what I'm expecting. I can probably forgive that Fife a little bit, just given it was the Port Adelaide and they are a bit more restrictive. It was good to see him get a few more tackles. Just couldn't really get around the disposals being so restricted. So not too fussed there. Has stopped his cash generation, but has the Eagles this week, so I'm probably more willing to hold him. Whereas Massimo had a pretty easy matchup and put up a 65. Surprisingly, was the fourth highest scorer for Hawthorn, but which is just ridiculous. But the team's not getting it done, so he's also not getting it done, and he can go from my side this week. But overall, not too much to be concerned about. Obviously, you can see I did a bit of looping here and there. So my thought process, just to explain that, was that I had Closey on the bench, and I didn't really feel comfortable just fielding him straight away. So what I wanted to do was, out of Massimo and Williams, I wanted to put one on the bench and loop them. So if, say, I've got the emergency on Williams, if he went poor, like say sub 60, I would then field Closey on the field and then, to take that score rather than a Williams score. I couldn't unfortunately do that with Massimo, given that these two played in the same side. So Williams ended up getting benched, and luckily enough, he went big enough, and he got subbed on. Missed out on the 3 points. Obviously, not going to back in a rookie to go back-to-back 90s, so I was more than happy to take Williams' score. Just unfortunate I couldn't have Williams and Closey score on field instead of a Massimo. Would have saved me another 30 points, but that's just what I get, I guess. Besides that, I also did this for the forward line. Luckily had Harvey Thomas as the emergency. I originally had Seth Campbell playing at F6, but luckily had the emergency on Harvey Thomas there. So once he had scored that 81, then I just threw Heaney in as that buy play, and he served as my captain loop as well. So that worked out really well, and scored me another 34 points. So really happy with that, and really glad that he really kick-started his cash generation again. So after that poor last week, so don't understand what the difference is between these two games. Obviously, he played the full game, but just seems to somehow find the footy and sometimes not. Maybe it's just the two sides he played. So maybe expect another 10 this week. Who knows? But that's probably enough about my team, I'd say. There's nothing else really too important. I think the cash team value is a little bit lower than what I would like, but it could be a lot better for sure. So, maybe it's something I need to fix up this week, but I'll see if I can still get a leg up on the competition if I can by getting another premium. You can probably see one of the trades I've already done, which is McKercher to Graham. I think that's pretty set in stone for most people. It's just what I want to do with the second trade. So, but we'll come back to that after. Let's get into the players to talk about this week. So, starting with Melbourne and Brisbane. Obviously, Swecko gone. He absolutely killed it. 51 hit-outs is just ridiculous. Was on for record breaking in the first quarter. I think he was on like 21 hit-outs in the first quarter, which was just ridiculous. So, was really contested and absolutely played in his favour. So, was really happy that was the captain score, and I think most people had done that, but there was plenty of other good captain options out there. Rivers probably got a bit of an uptake with Salem going out now with that injury, unfortunately. So it'd be interesting to see who gets the points that Salem was sort of taking, whether they bring someone in or it just gets fed to the likes of, a Howes. He obviously picked back up after Salem was injured, so I'm kind of glad I held him, and it's probably something I'll probably hold on to him for a little bit longer. Not that he's going to make a huge amount more cash, it's just, where is he? He's there. Break him at 45, so it's not the worst thing. Got the bye this week. Would be nice to move him on to get some cash generation, but I sort of need the cash from another person if I want to do the trades I'm looking at, so we'll see how that one goes. Billings put another 70 on the board again, so not too bad if you still own him, but I'd still be looking to jump off, just isn't getting it done. Oliver, if you had him, get off him. He is now set for surgery on his finger, I believe, so he's out for a little while. Caleb Windsor, his cash generation's completely dried up now. I can jump off him. And obviously Salem's injured, so you need to jump off him as well. Moving on to Brisbane, Josh Dunkley absolutely killed it again. 123, you'd be really happy with that. Yeah, if you traded him in, he's a good unique. I think he's below 2%, so he's just getting it done this year so far. What is he actually averaging? Well, there he is. He is averaging 113, so yeah, really good. Got the easiest matchup so far in the Eagles, not the Eagles, the Cats this week. So, yeah, definitely you'll be holding him. He is going super well, and it could possibly even be a trade-in option if you're keen. Berry, probably not too keen on that. I think he's just a very flash-in-the-pan sort of player, even though he has scored probably 2 nice ones in a row. Just, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of his role, unfortunately. Dane Zorko, I've spoken about him a couple times in the past couple of weeks, and yes, this is the week where I really need to make a decision whether I just grab him. I really want to hear some news in the media whether he's going to keep this half-back role if and when McKenna comes back, which should be this week. So if he can keep this role, absolutely love him. I think he can star in as well. It's very easy for a player like Zorko to prosper in this role, just because he's not super physical, so he won't be able to hurt himself as much. He can just get a lot of that cheap ball and be that distributor like a Rich was, and we know how long Rich went for. So, yeah, I definitely feel like it's a good position for him. It's just whether the coaches see him in that position for long. But if you traded him in, great on you. It was a great pick, and yeah, 117 is a really good reward. And yeah, if you're looking to trade him in, then I wouldn't stop you. I'm possibly even doing something similar this week. Just need to make that decision, and would like to see something. Zach Bailey had probably the game of his life. No, so Cam Rayner had them. I get these two players all the time, and so Cam Rayner had the game of his life and scored a 99. So, yeah, I still think he's just an impact player, and it's probably not someone I'm looking at bringing in, unfortunately. Yeah, you can see there with his Supercoach score. Yeah, was the highest score. So, yeah, he's definitely more of a Supercoach player than he is a fantasy player, unfortunately. Anyone else here of relevance? I guess Lachie Neale is still relevant. Scored the 83. That's just him, in my opinion. I'm not super keen on him anymore. I think since Josh Dunkley's come in, his ceiling has really been limited because he's not the only guy in there. Same with McCluggage. They both sort of got their ceilings capped. You can't have the three in there scoring over 100. So, yeah, really limits my expectations in all three of them. But I think Josh Dunkley is the pick of them three. And just Lohman scored the 64. It was a really high-scoring game for Brisbane overall. Very deep. Like, obviously, only a couple players sub 40, so that's really good on them. So, but Lohman, probably a good pickup if you're looking to get him. I think his break-even's in the negatives now. So, if you picked him up, then that's a great, unique one. I don't think too many people have jumped on him, and I don't think people are planning to, just with a few other good rookie options. But let's move on now. Come on, load up. Western Bulldogs. So Treloar had a pretty good game. I wouldn't say anyone had a really massive game here. This was a very unusual game in terms of scoring, just because no one really scored well, particularly the Bulldogs. Like, this is something we don't see very often. There's probably 300 to 400 points left on the table for them, because they usually score much closer to 1800 than they do 1400. So very unusual game, and I don't know what it was, whether the Bulldogs just went on or something. They just, was an unusual game. But Treloar still had 28 disposals, 8 tackles, got the job done with a 102. If you had him, very unique, probably one I'm not looking to trade in, very similar to Dane Zorko, where he just has too many injuries. Those hamstrings are held on by a string at the best of times. So, yeah, definitely not someone I'd be risking at this point in time. Sean Darcy is probably someone to consider, because he's been going really well in the last couple of weeks. This is actually his break even. I haven't actually looked this up too much. It's not. My A could work and I could spell. That would be nice. Is it Sam Darcy? It's Sam Darcy, not Sean Darcy. My apologies. It's got sort of 81 and a 96 and then an 88 previously. So yeah, he's just got that a bit better of a role now because he's chopping out from English a lot more. So he's just around the ball and able to get a few more disposals. So he's going pretty well. Priced at nearly 600k. Yeah, it's a tough one. But he's averaging over 80, which would put him in calculations. It's could definitely be one people could jump on if you're keen. Would I do it? Probably not. Not really used to picking those sort of key forwards. It's not something that we typically do. But again, he is sort of a ruck forward, and that ruck status could be helpful if he does actually obtain it. I don't know of his numbers, but I think it could be possible. Moving down the list, Lutorre, we saw him collapse, so he's going to be placed in concussion protocols. So very unusual. Didn't have any contact with anyone and just collapsed. So hopefully he's okay. But yeah, if you had him, then unfortunately you could probably hold. I wouldn't see why he couldn't, but just the unknown about why he collapsed maybe would be enough to scare me off. Who else are we talking about here? Jack McRae had a pretty good first half. I think he was on track for like over a ton, but then just really slowed in the second half. He's losing a lot of cash, so it's not time to jump on him just yet. We really need to see some form. What was his CBAs actually? Need to see him get his role back in the CBAs, and then I would say jump on, or even just in the team constantly. But yeah, little CBAs here and there, nothing too major. So not too much to get excited about there. Tim English was again pretty poor, dropping a lot in cash. So not someone I'm looking at jumping on. Only 16 hitouts is ridiculous. Just doesn't look like the man himself of last year, unfortunately. For those that started him. Would I be jumping off for Tim English? I think he's been that bad to the eye that I think he probably could. Because his cash is probably not too far off of Royal Marshals, and I assume most people are running a Gorn. You wouldn't be jumping on Gorn this week anyway because of the buy. It's about less than 100k. So could you jump ship? I'd probably say you could, especially with Royal Marshals. Good run that he has coming up. If you can find that 80 to 90k to jump on a Royal Marshal from an English, then I'd probably do it. Bontempelli, spoke about him. 0 marks is what concerns me. He had the 75% time in the midfield, so no concerns with the role. Oh, sorry, I keep going to the wrong tab. So no concern there. Did have Durham as a bit of a run around with, but didn't really do a too bag of a tag. Durham, there he is. So I don't know, maybe it was just a down game for him. What's the lowest score we've seen from him in, I think, since 2020 or something like that. So yeah, a little bit of concern, but I'd expect to bounce back for sure. And Sanders, we spoke about, got subbed, and Gallagher now 29 is a bit disappointing for owners. He's stopped his cash generation, and what is he priced at? He'd be just over 400k, I'd say. Yep, 407, breaking 41. Does have St Kilda this week, so maybe it's not the most priority to trade out. But yeah, if you need a forward that needs to go, then there's probably one that could go as well. Moving over to Essendon, we got Dersma, who has been sneakily putting his hand up for a bit of a selection, to be honest. What is his? I spelled his name wrong. That's what it was. The only problem I see with this pick is that he's a midfield only. If he was a forward, then I could probably get around it. But just because he's a midfielder at this point in time, yes, he has scored nearly 3 tons on the trot, even against Port Adelaide, but yeah, it's not a pick that I'd want to risk, especially with the wing. They have shown a preference to go down his wing and really utilise him, but we all know how volatile those scores can be. We even looked at the first 2 games, 47 and 52. That's definitely something that he could pop at any point, and it's not something you really want to do because it only takes one of those games to really stop his cash generation, and then you just have, a dead mid-price in your midfield, and that's not what you want. So probably not one I'm willing to risk. If it was, like I said, if it was a forward player, then maybe you could take the punt just with how shocking the forward line is, but not for the midfield, unfortunately. Caldwell is probably another interesting one because he actually does have forward status. I probably should just bring up all the Essendon players at this point, but scored at 108, breaking 55. What's his going out? He's got 2 tons in a row since he's moved into the CBAs. Let's have a look at the CBAs. Caldwell, so yeah, he's got decent CBAs over the last 2 weeks. Still was 4th in line this week, and yeah, even last week was around the same mark. No, Setterfield is best. I think Setterfield's meant to be back this week, if not the week after. So, bit of a watch there, but hopefully he can keep that role. He's been pretty good. Perkins, I don't know when he's back. I think it was maybe 4 weeks, possibly. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we'll know tomorrow. But he's definitely one you could consider. Priced at 700k is the only issue. He's still pretty pricey. Could I do it? I personally probably couldn't, but if you're confident on him, I've seen him in the past. This just seems like his sort of price, unfortunately. Moving on, Zach Merritt did what he did. Was very good in the first half. I think he was, on track for 120. Just really slowed in the second half, unfortunately, for owners like myself. Like I said, this was just a very unusual game, and not many people scored well at all. So I'll take a 104 from Merritt every day of the week. Although Nick Martin, I had him in my captain selections because I thought he was going to go massive, and to see only got 25 disposals and 4 marks when the likes of Caldwell and Dersma are getting 10 plus, it's pretty disappointing. Would have expected at least 100 from him every day of the week. Just didn't get there this week, unfortunately. And no one else really there to mention from my understanding. Parrish obviously is dropping a lot of cash. Look to jump on him eventually. And I don't think we're considering else. So let's move on to the third game. GWS, Lockie Whitfield absolutely killed it with 34 touches and scored a 120. Really happy with him. Just looked really good. Josh Kelly, an 85. Not super happy with it if you're an owner. Saw the goal on that as well. Just not really sure. Did he have CBAs again this week? Seems like they're chopping and changing his role a little bit. Yeah, down in CBAs again. It's disappointing for owners who thought that he was going to go back into that midfield role. Just hasn't got there and looks to be a bit more of a winger for him. Low time on ground as well, 73, so a bit concerning. What's he priced at? Sorry, I don't want to spend too much on these guys that aren't super highly owned. He's 1.4k owned. So if you can jump off him and get to a top line guy, then absolutely do it. I think it's a straight swap for Sam Walsh this week, so that would be alright. Harvey Thomas absolutely killed it. Got the cash generation again. Happy with him. Probably wouldn't trade him in if you didn't have him, as he is 350 and his scores are very volatile. Wouldn't be jumping on, wouldn't be trading him out. So that's all I have to say. Tom Green was very disappointing. One by tackle was just very unusual. You can see pretty much no one had tackles in this game. So that's a very anomaly for him, and only 24 disposals. So whether it was just the ground or got a bit of tension, I don't think he got any tension. But 72 is not what owners wanted, and now he's dropping a lot of cash. Pardon me. So yeah, unfortunate for owners, but I think that was just the same story for most people this week with mega primos like your Bonch, your Dawsons and whatnot. They all went very poor, so didn't hurt you too much this week, luckily. And Cadman scored another 64, making still good cash. Wouldn't be trading him out just yet, and wouldn't be trading him in. And that's all from there. On to St Kilda. So Brad Hill, 150. He has these sort of scores every so often. He's a great draft player, just is not consistent enough for classic in my opinion. Just the wing role is just so volatile. He can have the best of games sometimes, and then you never see him in another game. So not one I'm looking to pick up though. Roll Marshall, I haven't changed this to owned yet, but yeah, absolutely happy with him. Like I said, 138. You can't complain too much about someone debuting for your team. Still, just does still things. 122. Scored a goal. Even came off a little bit with a lot of time going on because he had that Sam Taylor injury where they collided and unfortunately knocked out Sam Taylor. So luckily he was okay and continued on his scoring ways. And now he's nearly over $1 million. So anyone that started him is just a great pick. I've probably repeated that way too many times, but yeah, it's been an awesome pick and definitely one of the highlights winning picks I would say so far this year. Wanganeen Malira 90, so you'd take that from a restrictive GWS, I think. 19 touches, 7 marks, so you'd be happy about his game there. Probably just needed a few more touches to really get him to that sort of ceiling. Wintager, for those that held him, an 82, probably repaid the faith a little bit. Again, he's one I would probably normally look at in a normal year, considering he is so cheap and he's going to stay in that role. Can probably push 80 average, just not looking to trade in defenders, given that we get DPP next week. And throwing a lot of defenders back, like a Bonner, who did the exact same, 80, so really happy with that. Very similar game to Wanganeen Malera, 20 and 6, so wasn't a super friendly game for those defenders, unfortunately. So even Sinclair, 22 disposals, not getting ready the mark, so yeah, definitely disappointing with Sinclair. If anyone was brave enough to start him after... did he play the first round? I don't think so, actually, so maybe no one started him, but yeah. And Wilson just got better again, did another 70. He's making some coin, so I wouldn't be trading that just yet. And anyone that held him a couple weeks ago has been a good pick. Quickly take a drink while this loads. Alright. So, moving on to Carlton. So, Sam Walsh was the talk of the town on his first game back. 145, absolutely killed it. I should stop saying that, but it's what I'm going to say all video now. 34 touches, 13 tackles. Probably didn't get as many marks as what I was sort of expecting, so maybe, if he can fix up that sort of his game, and 13 tackles isn't going to be sustainable, but have to wait and see. Had some managed time, didn't have a super high time on ground, so was limited a little bit there. But that's what you sort of expect on his first game back. Great trade-in target, one I'd probably be doing this week if I had the coin for it. If you're looking for a midfield, we will be looking to get midfielders in, next week when, all the DPP happens and, you throw all the defenders back, you free up a lot of midfield spots. So, be a good one to do there. Jump on early. He will be over 900k come next week, I would say, with a lower break even. The only flag with Walsh I wanted to say was that Chera should be back this week, and Chera is usually that sort of ball in there a little bit more, so he can get more of those tackles. So, been interesting to see how they go together. Whether I actually didn't even look at the CBAs. Probably something I should look at. Sorry guys, hopefully you can't hear my cat eating in the background. Where am I looking? So, Sam Walsh, 70%, and Pinnett, that doesn't make too much of a difference. I don't know why they ran the 2 ruck lineups this week, very unusual. But one Chera comes back, whether that has an effect on Sam Walsh's role a little bit. Maybe not a huge amount, maybe Hewitt's the one to go out, so that could be a bit of a flag, but I think it's just a wait and see. Sorry, wrong tab. Moving on from Hewitt, going to Zach Williams. Scored the 91, so had a really good first half to get him to the score because he had quite a poor second half. I think he was on 68 points in half time. So yeah, was definitely on track, and I think his scoring potential is actually going to go up this in the next couple of weeks, given that Sard is got a hamstring injury, and it looked like McGovern also had a hamstring injury as well. So those two could both be out. So a lot of those points that they sort of receiving could instantly go to Williams. So if you had plans to maybe trade Williams out this week, I'd probably hold off, in my opinion, just because, I think he could get an uptick there and can earn some more coin for us, because he is earning some decent coin now. Breaking of 42, did make the 33k this week, so but it does come up against GWS this week, which could be a bit more restrictive. But probably another thing I should check here is their kick-ins. Because McGovern took 2 and Newman took the other 2, so maybe he gets a little bit more kick-in duties, given that McGovern's usually the number 1 taker, and Sard is also around that mark, so definitely could be a good pickup for those, and even if you're interested in Nick Martin, which I have been. And Hollands, I don't know why he's still in here as my watch target, not looking at him at all, pretty poor. That's probably all I wanted to talk about there. On to the Crows. So Isaac Rankin scored the 106, and people have been talking him as a potential target. And I like Rankin as a footballer. He is entertaining, but he's not going to maintain 3 goals each week and only score the 106. I'd expect when a player kicks 3 goals that they score at least a 120, So, a little bit disappointing in that aspect, and I don't think a 106 is enough for me to jump on, even though he will make some good coin from here on out, because I'll have a look. Rankin. See, I've looked him up before. Does have a pretty good run, I will say that. Even, Dawson before this week was in my trade targets for next week, I believe, because they have West Coast. Or no, they have North. So, yeah. But definitely for the Brave, he's at a good price. He's got a good role now with, he went, I think it was the number 1 CBA holder. No, he's just behind Sligo at 60%. So they're just changing a few things up. I don't know what they're going to do each week, so it could be a bit of a risky play. But they have shown a bit of a preference to like Rankin in there. Even in the preseason we saw it, and he was doing pretty well. So hopefully it's something that continues, because I definitely think you can thrive in that role for sure. Where was I up to? No one else hugely relevant there. Besides Crouch, unfortunately got the suspension, 1 week suspension. So would you trade, would you hold? My opinion would be that you're trading now, given that his break-even's in like 106 now. So he's made you that, I think, 100k. He's been a pretty good pick, but yeah, it's probably a good time to jump off. But at the same time, if you're looking to hold, it's not going to hurt you too much, because it is best 18. You'll probably just be running 1 less premium than the rest of us, considering that there isn't a huge amount of round 6 buy players that we have besides a Gorn as such. I don't think too many others, maybe a Short, but he got injured as well, which we'll get into later on. But probably look to trade him, in my opinion. Laird was poor. Just staying away from him at this point in time. Don't know what his role is, and isn't working out enough at this point in time. Saligo probably didn't do as well from what we would have thought with the 27 disposals. Had the team high disposal count. Just not relevant enough to get the marks and the tackles, unfortunately. And Dawson was absolutely shocking. Anyone that started him, would be very disappointed so far this season. Like a Bont. It just hasn't worked out. And this is why we don't spend up for our premiums at the start of the year. Should have learnt. So anyone that didn't do that would be sitting in pretty good position right now, I'd say. And that's probably about all that's relevant about this game. Keane scored the 46, so he couldn't back up his 290s in a row. And this is why we don't pick key position players. Come on, load. There we go. So Gold Coast. So Anderson did really well. Scored 140, 154. I'll be honest, I didn't watch too much of this game. I only watched the first half because it was shocking as a Hawthorn supporter. So really didn't notice Anderson's dominance too early on. But yeah, I think he would have ticked up a little bit more in the second half. 36 totals, 8 marks, and 8 tackles is just an elite game, and I can see why he scored so highly. And probably one I would probably look to jump on if you can. Gold Coast's run is really favourable for midfielders particularly. So, but he is getting close to $1 million and probably will be over $1 million next week. So, if you had the coin, could be a very unique pick because I don't think he's even, highly owned. Anderson, what am I doing? Anderson. Yeah, 973k. Breaking 85, 2.37%. So, yeah, you'd be really happy as an owner. Averaging 117 as well. Flanders, great trading that everyone did, 1025. You'd be happy with that. Did cop a little bit of tension from a McGuinness who could have sort of just stood by him, didn't really do a real hard tag. So, yep, allowed him to get to that score, and you'd be really happy if you traded him in. If you don't have him, it's probably still a good time to trade him, even though he does have a bit of a tough matchup this week. He's got that role, which it doesn't really matter who he's playing. It can just be super friendly, as we've seen with the likes of a Sheasel. So, Will Graham is a great trade-in target. I wish he didn't go as well as he did because it makes him a little bit more expensive than I would have liked at, I think, 320 something K. So, but yeah, he's a great trade-in target this week. 14 touches, 3 marks, and 14 tackles. Not the most ideal lineup of stats, but has shown he has a tackling prowess in his game, so he's probably good for a minimum of a 60 each week if he continues in this role, which it looks like they're comfortable in. So they're winning, so that's the main thing. Close there was a great trading target last week. Probably too late now, considering he is like 400k, I would say. Where is he? No, he's only 3.9. No, it's probably not too late then. If you don't have him, jump on. Sorry, I thought he was over 400k. My bad there. But yeah, has a negative, massive break even. So yeah, he's gonna make a lot of coin. Kicked 2 goals in this as well. So he really showed that he can spread and get some good space from his opponent. Took Miller was pretty good from what I thought. 28 disposals and 8 marks. You'd think that's pretty strong game. Just couldn't get around the tackles, which is unusual for a Took. But you can't really tackle someone when they don't have the ball. So, which Hawthorn did not have the ball at any point in time. So, expect him to sort of have a better game coming up, I would say. But he's dropping some coin and getting pretty cheap for us at this point in time. Lakosha is probably the only other player I really want to talk about here, as he is probably around that similar price range as a Rankin and Caldwell, around that mark. So let's have a quick look at him. Hopefully I can spell his name right. Lakosha, there we go. Break even to 57, a little bit cheaper than the others because he is closer to 600k mark. Has been going at 85 and above. Has a really good role of an intercept defender. Has been scoring really well in this role. So probably one of my favourites out of the lot given his price range and his consistent role. I don't think his role is going to change at any point. Whereas, a Rankin and a Caldwell's are probably a bit more of a risky play because their role can change at any point because it depends on who's coming back in. Whereas I think Lukosius is a bit more set in stone. This is the role that they want him to play, and he looked really good in it. So I'd expect him to stay, and it's probably the pickup if you can't get to a top line guy. Moving on to Hawthorn, no one really important to talk about here. Amon did another 102. Probably not looking to trade him in. Just, it just doesn't look good to the eye. Just very cheap. A lot of kick-ins because they're getting so dominated. Nothing I don't know. Nothing about Hawthorn really screams that you should pick up any of these players, unfortunately. Dan Rosier, 65, just didn't get the marks or didn't really tackles. Got plenty of disposals, just, yeah, nothing too crazy. Sicily's getting nice and cheap for us. Do I think he's going to be relevant again? Only if Hawthorn bring in a second tool defender to help and free him up a little bit. Then he can sort of jump on, which probably happened towards the end of the year, just not at this point in time. Anyone that was considering a Lloyd Meek as a unique ruck option, sort of as a failed pick, scored the 50 this week. Did have a hard matchup against Wits, but yeah, you don't want a ruckman with that can score a 50, that's for sure. Moore's not getting any better, so probably not in my calculations to get it forward. Newcomb, 40. If you had him, you got to jump off. Oh, I'm going to stop mentioning after this. He's just been putrid. And Mackenzie, I think he was subbed out pretty early from a hamstring. I don't know. I can't remember. Moving on to the next game. Got 3 more to go. Okay, Butters did pretty well. Was a bit of a concern with his bump. Could have been suspended. Probably should have been suspended, in my opinion. But as a Butters owner, I'm happy he didn't. There's very fine lines between, what's right and what's wrong in this game sometimes. And that was luckily enough, he was on the right end of that one. Wines, as soon as everyone gets off, he cracks a ton. So it's pretty funny. Had a very low time on ground though, so it's not something I'm looking at. I would get on. No, wouldn't do it. Rosie, I think he had his floor game. Didn't really look too great in this game, but it was pretty restrictive against Freo. And Horn Francis, the 76, you wouldn't be too bad if you jumped on him. You're still going to make a bit of coin there. Yeah, probably worth holding him again if you had him. Wouldn't be trading him in, unfortunately. That's all from Port. Freo, Luke Ryan, if you can jump on him, I would be personally. They go on absolutely the godly run in the next couple, or at least next 5 sort of thing. So he could go massive if you had the option. I unfortunately can't. Just with the way my team structure is at this point in time. Hayden Young did really well, 102. Happy with that as an owner. Sarong, 92. You're not happy about it considering he had such a high break even and he's going to lose a lot of coin, but a 92 at the end of the day isn't too bad, especially against Port, who are really restrictive. Brayshaw, a 78, really poor again. Like I said last week, these two are really hard to own, in my opinion, just because their roles can constantly change and they really can favour one or the other. So last week we saw it was Brayshaw, this week we saw it was Sarong. So who knows? Probably wouldn't be looking at trading either in at this point in time. Luke Jackson had another poor game at 74, now is losing cash. It's a difficult one because Sean Darcy's definitely back next week. I think the club's confirmed that, so he's going to get some managed time in there. So he's definitely probably going to score a bit lower, but maybe he can free himself up to get a few goals up front and at least score in other avenues. So probably worth holding him one more because he does have West Coast this week. So yeah, I'd say hold, wait and see, and then look to trade him out next week and probably flick him to a midfielder if you have the DPP. If not, then you'd have to go up to another ruckman. If you don't have Gorn, get Gorn. If you don't have Marshall, get Marshall, in my opinion. A couple more here. Jai Clark had a poor game at 66. I wouldn't be too concerned for owners. I think like I said, they've got a good run coming up and he's going to bounce back pretty hard. Sharp, 65, making some good coin. Wouldn't jump off him just yet. And Nat 5 did what he needed to do against a tougher matchup for me, so I'm looking to hold him just for a little bit longer. Oops, that's not the next game. Geelong and North. Not too many hugely fantasy. Holmes had a pretty good game at 99. 2 goals. Not looking to jump on at this stage. I think he's had a pretty soft run to start the year, and I think it's only going to go worse from here. Stewart's, yeah, another poor game. he just doesn't seem to ever want to crack that ton average, does he? Just can't get there, not consistent enough. He doesn't get the cheap ball, unfortunately. He only gets the intercepts. So, yeah, maybe it's just not for him. Would I be jumping off of him if I had him? If you don't have a Sheasel, then absolutely make that trade. And that's probably the only reason I would consider jumping him off him, unfortunately. Oliver Dempsey did pretty well to recover in the second half, because I think he was doing quite poor in the first half. I think he only had 2 points in the first quarter and wasn't looking much better at half time. So yeah, really recovered that with the 70. Happy with him at F6 at the moment. And we've got a Jai Clark who only scored the 2 points after coming in for only 17% time on ground. 23% time on ground. So yeah, a little bit disappointing there. Sorry, I keep dropping stuff. Moving on to North Melbourne, lots to talk about here. So Harry Sheasel, just listen to this bloody stat line: 38 disposal, 15 marks and 3 tackles, which is just ridiculous, and kicked the goal as well. So yeah, he's over $1 million now, and he's probably one of the best players in the competition. For fantasy wise, just loves the pill, even in a harder matchup, which just was. He just doesn't care. He just racks it up. He challenges it every single week. So, but in saying that, he's still probably not going to be considered in my captain options this week, considering that he has Finn coming his way this week. Yeah, this coming weekend. So, he won't be in my considerations there. Tom Power did really well again. Was actually getting a lot of the cheap marks in the midfield. So yeah, I don't know what about it. We obviously knew it was a very soft matchup against against the Cats. So I did expect him to have a pretty good game. Just yeah, didn't really expect it to come from marks and whatnot. So if you don't have him, I'd be jumping on Tom Power, just given that he is scoring at a top 6 sort of level. So I'd be really happy there to do that. X-Men's just getting it done, really consistent 107. You'd be happy with that. Didn't get many marks, but yeah, his game is tackles and he's quite a few disposals near that, so gets the job done. You wouldn't be looking to jump off him just yet, given his low break-even still, make some coin. LDU finally cracked the ton. Yeah, was a really friendly game, so sort of was expected from him being the main guy, but I was hoping for a bit of a bigger game to really break him out, but nothing really come from that. Probably not one I'm looking to jump on at all. Drury is another good trade-in target, in my opinion. Scored the 101. I think he's, a 250k. He got a negative 26 break even. So he's going to go up a lot in coin. It's just a matter of if he can continue this role that he played, which was, for me, it looked like a high half-forward wing role where he was spreading a lot and getting a lot of those, marks on the outside. We've got to remember that this is an easy matchup, so maybe don't expect that all the time. If you look back through his history, he is known for dropping, 15s to 30. So it could die off pretty quickly like a Thomas did last week. So if you want to do it, I could do it, but my preference, to be fair, would be I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name, unfortunately. Yeah, Nuwan. Yeah, we'll go with that. He looked like he had a pretty secured down role in the back line. More conducive to scoring, given how much ball was in that back line. Didn't mind getting amongst it when they chipped it around a little bit, which they did a lot in this game. So he could definitely spark up a little bit. Has a less break even. I think it's like a negative 14, but that's still enough for me. Fisher, happy with the Fisher, 82. People will complain about it, but I won't. I'm happy with that sitting, on my field at this point in time, and can stay as my F6 for a little while if I can get him there. Comden, probably wasn't what owners would have expected or would have hoped for, 69, but it's not too bad at the end of the day. Still made a lot of coin, and probably one you'd look to hold still. Probably wouldn't jump on, because it did look like a nice sort of 69, just which is weird to say, but yeah, definitely looked like he's capable of dropping quite a low score. with just a few others getting around those cheap marks instead of him. Wardlaw, time for him to go, unfortunately. Just isn't getting it done. Low time on ground again. Just, not for him. Lazaro, for anyone that still owns him, I unfortunately don't. I haven't changed this. I've really got to get better at this. He's making some coin, so you'd be happy to hold on to him. Dersma probably can be moved on. He's probably about to bleed cash now. He had to break even to 29 last week, so I can only imagine it's going to be in the 50s this week. And McCutcheon needs to go as well. On to the final game. So, not hugely fantasy relevant. Not too much happened to this game. Besides that, Yo scored 94. You'd be pretty happy with that as an owner, just to see him get through the game. We're all thankful. Didn't get around the tackles this week, and it doesn't get around the marks very often. But scored 2 goals, 1, which was pretty pleasing. He's making pretty good coin, so he's definitely worth a hold. And Reed picked up another 81, so he's really kickstarted his cash generation with like sort of back-to-back 80s sort of thing. So really happy for him there, and looks to have broken out a little bit as a player. Just needs to find other avenues of scoring. Can't just rely on disposals all the time. But if he could get a few more tackles, that should have been over 100, I think. A couple guys I want to speak about in here in terms of, I know Bolton's probably been spoken a little bit about as an option. Really heavily relies on these goals to get a decent score, even though he does have a nice role at the moment, given that the injuries they have. Where is he? He's at the 50%. His role hasn't really changed, to be honest. Just is very volatile in terms of... So it's Bolton, not Bolton. Very volatile. See, 40, 60. Has got on 300s. Picked up a little bit more time on ground, but has had super easy matchups the last 2. So, I personally won't be doing it. Not at his price range of nearly $800. He's pretty pricey. Baker, on the other hand, is a little bit more on the cheaper side. And again, caveat, this is not for this week. These guys are for next week when they're off their bye. So, unfortunately, he did jump up 40k this week. He was sub 700k, which would have been a good option. But on his bye, you wouldn't be doing it, and I wouldn't have traded him in last week. Again, super easy matchup. Scored a 92. What was his CBAs? Baker, 60%. So, really good role for him at the moment. So, definitely could be one we could jump on next week if you're optimistic. I think he has a pretty tough run. Melbourne into Freo. Pretty hard matchups for midfielders. Western Bulldogs aren't too bad. So, it's not great. But this could be a pretty good run after that. Especially Hawthorn. So, I don't know. Probably not for me again. I don't know. Don't mean to shit on every pick, but you got to go somewhere. I prefer just to go to the top lines if I can. And anyone else here to speak about? Not really. Seth Campbell did okay, 47. He's still making some good coins. I wouldn't probably wouldn't trade him out just yet, even though he's buy 35. 35, you're happy with that. So he could probably still make some good coin on the back end of the buy. Like I said, tougher matchup, so hopefully he can score some goals to get him there. Where was I? And Shaw injured himself, so only the 11 points. You got to trade him out. He's injured now. Alright, well that sort of just does it for all the games, I believe. Hopefully that, gives you some insight on the games if you weren't able to watch them yourself. Let's quickly get into... we've got the buys this week, so we've got a couple of players that I guess we should be talking about. Let's just quickly go through them. So Gorn's number 1, you're holding. He's the F1. Don't look at trading him. Windsor, I'd probably be looking to trade him out because he is now bleeding cash, from my opinion. he's going to be losing cash as of next week. So probably not urgent to trade him out this week if you don't have to. If you've got other priorities like a McKercher, I'd probably move a McKercher before him and then maybe him next week, but he will be losing cash for sure. Even with the Jai Clark, he's also going to be losing cash after that 2 he scored. So I'd like to move off him as soon as possible, even though he doesn't have a huge amount of cash on his head. That's probably all that is worth talking about. If you had a Petrarca, I'd probably hold him. He's probably about that range. Did have a pretty blow score last week, but he's got a pretty good run to come up. West Coast, North Melbourne, Cats, Eagles, Saints, Pies. Yeah, you got to be pretty happy with that run. So one I'd be holding. Salem obviously needs to go. Oliver needs to go. Billings needs to go. So that's them. And who was the other team that is on the bye? It is... Oh, why am I having a blank right now? This is really unprofessional. I have no idea. I can't seem to think about it. Who's the other fucking team? Richmond. Why couldn't I get that right? Where's Richmond? No wonder I can't fucking see the name. Bolton, if you had him, probably hold on to him. Yeah, you're on along for the ride. He's got a low break even, so he's probably making some good coin if you want to trade him out. And what's that run like? Oh, yeah, pretty tough, as I said. But I think if you've picked him for a reason, so might as well stick along for a ride. He's out injured for a while. Does see very similar to Bolton. I don't think his scoring capability is there. He's more of an impact player, as we've seen. I'll probably jump off. I think that's all really that is worth talking about, in my opinion. Let's sort of just get into my trade preview of trades for this week. So this is probably my locked-in trade so far. I don't think that's going to change. I think it's pretty obvious. The only other thing that I'm looking at a couple of different options, as I do all the time for, at the start of the week. So I could either go a Jai Clark to stop that bleeding of cash, and I could, pick up any position to say that. Could be a new one, and that makes me 360k. So doing a bit of a double downgrade, which I know some people are a bit against doing a double downgrade, but I think that's a bit of an old mentality, given that normally we're playing best 22, and obviously you want to try and get your rookies off field as fast as possible. But given that this is best 18, it's probably the last opportunity you can do a double downgrade that isn't going to hurt you to the same extent of a best 22 would. So if your cash generation really isn't going as well as what other teams are, and you probably want to fix that up a little bit, then I'd absolutely support doing that this week if you can't get up to that player that you're looking for. So yeah, that's definitely an option I'd look at. There's tons of different rookies that we could be going with. You could even get off a Toe Pink if you still had him. Get off a D'Ambrosio if you want to downgrade him a little bit. There's so many rookies at the moment that sort of get into that price range where they need to move on. So even a Blake Howes, if you still had him, he could probably go. Campbell, I plan to trade out these two, but just given a few other priorities, I cannot. Even he's not going to make a huge amount more cash, so you can jump off him early and free up that spot if he's your worst rookie. Even a Sanders can go early. Probably wouldn't get off Roberts or a Sharp just yet, given the break-even's pretty low. Give them another week or two. But yeah, you got to start making plan to get off of these rookies one by one pretty quickly, because yeah, they can start bleeding cash really quickly. Sorry, I keep saying quickly, really long. But yeah, this is my first option that I'm looking at. Obviously, via DPP, I'd move Thomas into the midfield and then sort of make that trade. Another option I'm looking at is going a D'Ambrosio. Let's just leave it there for now, make it simple. And going, I've got 800 and something K. Let's go into the forwards. Let's not look at break even. Let's just go last 3. would be nice if I could go price, but it doesn't seem to add it there. And going to Azorco, it saves me 1k. Unfortunately, can't do a Sanders as a Flanders, sorry, which is what I sort of wanted to do. I'm 3k short, which is pretty disappointing. But maybe at the end of the day, it's what I should be doing. So I might just go with Azorco. I don't know why it's saying I can't do it. But yeah, that's probably my second option, is getting that another rookie sort of off field and fixing up that backline a little bit. Allows me to field closely at my F6, and then gets sort of one of these two rookies off, whether I go Reed and loop between them, given that I have Campbell there, so I can play one or the other and play a bit of a switcheroo throughout this week. So yeah, that's probably my second option. But we'll see how we go through, see how the week plans out, see if any names get thrown up towards the end of the week, see if anything comes out from team selections early on. But in terms of my next video, it will be a bit later than usual this week, given that I'll be going to the Adelaide live show for the traders on Wednesday night. So that's when I usually record my trade review, or sorry, my preview series. So yeah, probably be Thursday night is what I'll be looking at. So yeah, hopefully you've all enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and subscribe, and tell your friends if you think it's useful information. It may not be. So yeah, I'll leave you guys to it, and hopefully you have a good week and play in your trades really well. Have a good one.